Hello again, everyone. Another Tinkercad 3D design tutorial for you, more of an intermediate level this time. In this video, we're going to be making a sliding lid box. What do I mean by that? Well, I have an example for you right here. Basic box with chamber lid. It's got an insert for the lid kind of towards the top there. This is a, functional object, so we're going to need to work in fairly precise dimensions for this. I will be going over how to assign those dimensions, how to build it, and how to customize it in this upcoming video. I'm going to assume you already have a functioning Tinkercad account, so without further delay, let's jump right into it. First thing, we need to get the basic shape and dimensions of our box. Since we are making a box, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that we will be using the box object. So over here on the right, we can just click that once, drag it out, click it again to place it. And make sure you have a more or less front-facing view here. And in order to assign the specific dimensions we need, and we're going to be using this tool a lot, is the ruler tool. The button for it is up here on the right. I'm going to be using the shortcut, which is R on the keyboard. So once you hit R or click the button, much like we just did with the box, see you're now dragging around a little translucent ruler. Just place it somewhere in front of the box and it'll bring up a whole bunch of numbers. All we need to concern ourselves with is these kind of 320s that control the dimensions of the object. To keep things simple, I'm going to refer to this 20 in the front here as kind of controlling the left to right dimensions. You can see the little arrow there. The 20 on the left for the front to back dimensions, and the one on the right here for the top to bottom. And before we get to doing that, I'm just gonna kind of bring up a little reference point here, up towards where my cursor is. These are the dimensions we'll be going for, so if you get lost, you need to reference what we're working towards. Just look towards that. So this 20 in the front for our left to right dimensions. I'm going to click on the little text box, type in 50, and hit enter. The 20 on the left here for the front to back, I'm going to enter 100. And the 20 on the right here for the top to bottom dimensions, going to type in 50 again. And that's all we need to do for now. To kind of keep things decluttered, I'm going to dismiss the ruler, which you can see this little X that my cursor is hovering over. You can click on that, and it'll get rid of all those numbers for you. Next, we want to create the hole or chamber area of our box. So first thing, I'm just going to select the big box we made, use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move this towards the middle, just to make it a little easier to work with. And to create the hole or chamber area now, we're going to drag out another box. Just place it somewhere next to the big one we just made. Make sure this is set to hole. And again, we're going to be assigning specific dimensions to this. So let's bring up and place the ruler. Also, once again, I will keep the kind of reference sheet of sorts up towards the top here. So the 20 up front here for our left to right dimensions, we're going to change that to 45. Over on the left, for our front to back dimensions, we're going to set that to 94. And lastly, for top to bottom set, we just want this to be anything above 50. So I'll do 75, but you can do 60, 90, whatever. It just needs to be taller than our main object here. And we're not going to do any more kind of dimension assigning for now, so we can go ahead and dismiss the ruler. And we will be aligning and grouping these to kind of make the chamber area. But first we need to push our whole object up a little bit, because if we group them, align and group them now, this will punch a hole through the top and bottom of our object. And that won't really make a box. So select the whole object we just made, hold down Control on your keyboard, and just tap the up arrow 5 or 6 times. So with this moved up just a little bit, we're going to place our cursor somewhere in an empty space. Hold down left click and move the mouse around to drag out a selection box. And just drag it out so that it is touching both objects. That will select both of them for us. And up here on the upper right is the Align tool. L for the hotkey. I'm going to click the button. And it'll bring up a series of black dots. And these are kind of the various axes on which you can align your objects. The ones that kind of go upwards here, we can ignore those for pretty much the entirety of this project. We just want the 3 in front here and the 3 on the side. And we want to center align these objects. So we're going to click on the dot in the front middle here. And you can see once you do that, it grays out, kind of telling you your objects have been successfully aligned. And then this one over here, just click that, it'll gray out. And next we can group them, which is up here where my cursor is. Just click the group button. And as you can see, it kind of punched a hole in our box, creating the chamber. So we've got a solid bottom and nice even walls all around. Now we want to make the lid and lid insert. So snap back to a more front view. We're going to drag out another box. And as you may have guessed, we're also going to bring up the ruler. And again, reference sheet for you towards the top there. So our left to right dimensions, we are going to set this to 46.50. We want our front to back dimensions to be 97. And our top to bottom, 20 on the right here, we're going to set that to 4.50. And we can dismiss the ruler for now, get rid of all those numbers. And this is going to be our lid object. In order to make the insert for it, the quickest thing to do is duplicate the lid and then kind of slightly tweak the dimensions of the duplicated object. So up here on the upper left between the clipboard and trash can is duplicate. Click that once, object will flash briefly. And you can actually hold down left click or use the arrow keys on your keyboard, and you can see we've duplicated this object. So just drag this one off to the side somewhere. That is pretty much done until we want to decorate it. And this over here is going to become our insert. So make sure this is changed to whole. We're going to bring up the ruler again, and we're just going to change just a couple of things. We are going to change this 46.50. We're going to change that to 47. And we're going to change the 4.5 to an even 5. And that's it. You can dismiss the ruler. And for the next step, I think a kind of total front view is most helpful. So this is going to be our insert for the lid, but as you can see, it's towards the bottom right now, and it's not going to do us a whole lot of good. So we need to kind of bring it up into place. So like we did with the chamber object, just select the hole or the insert here, hold down Control on your keyboard, and you can actually tap or hold down the up arrow on the keyboard. And let's get a better view. Bring it up just a little bit more. And just bring it up towards the top of your box. And just be careful not to bring it up to the very top, because we don't want it to, you know, punch through the top ridges here. That would kind of wreck the object. So you've got it more or less towards the top here. A little more. What we want to do now is align and group. So like we did before, place your cursor out here, selection box. Let's get both of those selected. And we're going to bring up the align tool up here where my cursor is, or L on the keyboard. And we're actually going to snap this to center front. So the 3 dots up front here, let's click the middle one. And for front, the 3 dots on the side, we actually want the one on the front here. It's kind of kitty corner to the 3 up front. Click that one. And actually, before we group these, I'm going to dismiss the align tool for now. Before we group these, I want to go over kind of this block in the middle on the top here. This is very much kind of a style choice, but if you want to kind of put a handle or a solid decoration on your lid, you're going to want to knock this out. So real quick, I'm just going to kind of give you an example of what they look like so you can make a better decision. All right, here is the box from earlier, no, just the regular one. And here is the other version with the overhang over the middle. As you can see, it still works fine. You know, you can move the lid in and out. It's really just a style choice. And as I said, whether or not you want to put some kind of solid decoration or handle on the lid, it is entirely up to you. All right, so let's knock out this piece up in the front here. Easiest way to go about this is to place a whole object directly on top of our lid insert, and then align and group everything. So first thing we want to do is bring up the work plane. The button for it is right up here where my cursor is. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut, which is W, and move the mouse around. As you can see, we're now dragging around this little translucent plane. We're going to place that directly on top of our lid insert, and just left click. The blue field will change to a kind of orange. And we're going to drag out a box and just put it kind of somewhere inside of our main object. And we can reset the work plane at this point. So click the button, hit W, place the translucent plane in just any empty spot, and we should get back to the blue field here. And back to the box we just dragged out. We're going to change that to whole, and then we're going to change just one dimension on this. So we're going to bring up the ruler, and all we want to do is change its left to right dimensions. So the 20 in the front here, we want it to match the width of the chamber area of the box. which was 45. So we're going to enter that, dismiss the ruler, and now to select everything in a line. So put the cursor in an empty spot. Let's drag out our selection box, align tool, or L if you want to use the keyboard shortcut. And we're going to give it the exact same alignment as the lid insert, which, as you might remember, is the center dot here, and then up to the front. And now if you chose to keep this kind of block on the top here, you want to do this step as well. So with everything selected and properly aligned, we're going to click Group, which is up here, kind of right next to the light bulb. You can just click that, and as you can see, we now have our box. Nice even walls all around, insert for the lid, and now we can move on to customization and decorations. So the most common decorations and customizations I see are handles and other solid objects on top of the lid, as well as on the sides of the box, and how to engrave shapes or text onto those surfaces as well. So let's start with handles and other decorations that will go on top of your lid here. So we'll scroll down on the shape menu here and we'll use pyramid. So adding a lid to the box is pretty straightforward. You can do it in one of two ways. You could just drag out the shape, put it in the middle of your lid, place it, group it, and there's your handle. But you'll notice, especially with the pyramid, that we're actually, you can kind of mash them together like that, but you miss out on this kind of bottom half of the shape here. So if you want the whole shape to like rest evenly on top of the lid, you would just use the work plane, which you may remember, the button is over here, or W on the keyboard. We would place this on top of our lid. And so now when we drag out our pyramid handle, you can place it in the middle there, and we get the whole object evenly resting on top, and then we can group it and pretty much be done with it. And the same would apply for pretty much any other object you would want to, decorate on the top here, stars, hearts, rings, etc. So that's how you would do handles and objects on the lid. And the same would apply for sides of the box. It would get a little bit different because you're working on sides instead of a top, a straightforward top to down. So we can see what that would look like. As you can see, I used the work plane. I placed it on the side of the box that I want the decoration to go. We'll go back to pyramid. And as you can see, we can now place it wherever we want and it will rest evenly on the side. So maybe I'll put it towards the bottom there. Take a re-angle, maybe we'll resize it a little bit. And if you watched my keychain video, you might remember the duplicate function. You might have use of that on the box as well. So let's try and get like a straight pattern going along the side here. So I'll use my arrow keys to bring it there. We'll duplicate once. Again, I'll use my arrow keys to drag out the duplicate. Separate it a little bit. And now when I click this again, it will automatically replicate for me. I may have to resize the last one just a little bit. Maybe even delete it. But yeah, there we go. So that's handles and kind of other solid objects as decorations. Let's try engraving some text into the side here. So I want it to go on this side, so I'll keep the work plane on this side of the box. And scroll down a little bit, you may need to find the text object. And we'll place it roughly in the middle there. And we want to engrave this on the side. So we're going to turn this into a hole. And let's enter the text we want. Obviously, yours doesn't have to be library. It can be anything you want. Just highlight it in the text box, type it in. And take a full side view because we will want to resize this a little bit. Maybe like that. Okay. And then we just want to push it a little bit into the side and group it. So let's reset the work plane to the default. So hit W or the button, put the plane in an empty space, click, and we are going to use the arrow keys to push this to the left so that it goes into the side of the box just a little bit. And just to show what this will now look like, we'll select everything, group it, and as you can see, we engraved our text into the side of the box. And pretty much the same would apply regardless of what direction you're working in. So if you were here, you'd want to push it to the right. If you wanted it to go on the front of the box, you'd push it upwards. And just as an example, we'll engrave kind of an object into the top of our lid, just so we can see what that looks like. So I'll hit W for the work plane. Let's put it on top of the lid again. And let's engrave a big star onto the middle. So just like with the text, we're going to turn it into a hole. And the only difference here is we're not engraving it to a side, we just want to push it down. So what we'd actually want to do here is once you turn the object into a hole, hold down Control and tap the down arrow once or twice on your keyboard, and that will push it into the lid. So then we group it, and now we've got a star in our lid. Text on the side, solid decoration there. And that is designing and decorating your sliding lid box. Last step, if you are a Wayland Library patron or you live nearby, you followed the video, made and decorated your box, and now you want to get it 3D printed. All you have to do is go up where my cursor is to the export function, click that, make sure you're exporting everything in the design as an STL. The file will download to your computer, and you would just attach that downloaded file to an email. And the address you want to send it to you can find on our website. I have a link up towards the top here. Just go there. There will be an email address listed. Send the file on over. Also, feel free to ask for colors. So these are two objects that will be printed separately. So, if you want an orange lid and a silver box, you can do that. I or someone will then get back to you when your object finishes printing. And printing is free at the Wayland Library, FYI. And yep, that's pretty much it.